निज सेवक की नाई। राम सिया राम जय जय राम। राम सिया राम जय जय राम। मोरे जिया भरोसे धृत नाही। भक्ति विरति न ज्ञान मन माही। राम सिया राम जय जय राम। राम सिया राम जय जय राम। राम सिया राम जय जय राम। क्या छोटे भाई लक्ष्मण जी सहित स्वामी श्री राम जी मुझसे अपने सेवक की तरह मिलेंगे? मेरे जी को दृढ़ विश्वास नहीं होता, क्योंकि मेरे मन में ना भक्ति है, ना वैराग्य और ना ज्ञान ही।
Here Sutikshna is questioning his worthiness of God, as Shivi mentioned before, and he's showing us his lack of confidence, and he's admitting that he doesn't know that he has the right amount of devotion or the enough wisdom to receive the Lord. And when I read this chopai, I thought of when I had the lack of confidence. And as a student, I thought of exams. I've been subjected to many exams, and I probably have many more to go. And when studying, I may have practiced or prepared for how many different things I could, or whatever I thought for that exam was going to be tested for, but I would never have the assured confidence that what I studied for is either the correct thing, or if I studied enough, or if I am truly prepared. But only when I attended the exam and I looked at the questions and realized where I could apply my knowledge, then I felt that I was prepared, or that I would be successful. And I want you all to think of an exam as Ram, as the Lord. The Lord is our test of our purpose, our life purpose, and we can prepare however much we want or practice however much we want, but we will never know. We'll have never assurance of whether we have truly been a good person, or whether we are worthy of His presence. And I thought I would share that with you. As we go on to the next chopai, we will discuss Sutikshna's worthiness of the Lord.
Ram Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Nahi satsang jog jap jaga, nahi drid charan kamal अनुरागा. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. एक बानी करुणा निधान की, सो प्रिय जाकी गति आन की. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. न तो मैंने सत्संग योग जप अथवा यज्ञ ही किए और न प्रभु के चरण कमलों में दृढ़ अनुराग ही किया। हाँ, करुणा निधान प्रभु की एक बान है कि उन्हें वही प्रिया होता है जिससे किसी दूसरे का सहारा नहीं होता।
Here Sutikshna is saying that he may not practice yoga, prayer, or any sacrifice, nor does he claim any great or aspiring devotion, but he banks on one thing, which is that the Lord is all merciful. And he banks on this and hopes that the Lord will come visit him. And this chopai brings to mind a bhajan that I think we all know. So I would like you to join with me, and I'm sure and sing along with me. It's 142.
शरण में आए हे हम तुम्हारी, दया करो हे दयालु भगवन। शरण में आए हे हम तुम्हारी, दया करो हे दयालु भगवन। संभालो बिगड़ी दशा हमारी, दया करो हे दयालु भगवन। ना हम में बल है ना हम में शक्ति, ना हम में साधन ना हम में भक्ति। ना हम में बल है ना हम में शक्ति, ना हम में साधन ना हम में भक्ति। तुम्हारी दर के हैं हम भिखारी, तुम्हारी दर के हैं हम भिखारी। दया करो है दयालु भगवन। शरण में आए हे हम तुम्हारी, दया करो है दयालु भगवन। दया करो है दयालु भगवन।
The poet is saying, Sharan mein aaye hai hum tumhare. Oh Lord, I'm coming to you to ask to take me under your wing. Daya karo hai dayalu Bhagavan. Daya karo, give me mercy, O merciful Lord, dayalu Bhagavan. I may not have the bal, na hum mein bal hai, na hum mein shakti, nor do I have the strength, na hum mein sadhan, nor do I have any accomplishments or resources, na hum mein bhakti, devotion, nor do I have no devotion. But I'm coming to your door, tumhare dar ke, and I'm begging for you to take me into your arms. This bhajan summarizes what Sutikshna is saying in this chopai. He's saying that, yes, I do not practice yoga, I do not pray, I haven't sought the companions or company of any saints or performed any sacrifice, but I'm hoping that you will be merciful to me. And this chopai is very important because it's talking about the different forms of devotion and the different pathways one can take to become close to God. And I ask you this question: what do you believe embodies true devotion? And I'm making it interactive, so please put up your hands and let me know what you think.
Humility.
What do you think embodies a true devotee? What is a true devotee? Or what is true devotion?
Humility.
Okay.
Without any expectation.
Without any expectation. Okay. So you've already answered my question, but
You didn't listen to Anil, he said something.
so you said humility. Okay. So you've all answered the question well. But what I wanted you to focus on is that just because you may be a saint or a Brahmin or you have expounded on so many different texts, the Shastras or the Purans or whatever, that doesn't mean that you might have true devotion. And this is what Sutikshna is getting at in this, that he may not be practicing these forms of devotion, but his devotion is true. And he also says that the Lord is merciful, as in this bhajan, that the Lord is, as is said in this bhajan, that the Lord is merciful. And an example of this is of a father and their child. Actually, a funny example that I have is of, well, Shivi and I were not very experienced drivers. And Dad kind of gets scared when we get behind the wheel, so, and it's valid, I understand. But anyway, so Shivi gets a little flustered, and when we're in a rush, she does not really look around and is not really aware of her surroundings. So in a mishap, we might cause a collision, but it's not it's not detrimental. We're still standing. It's just a little dent in the car. And anyway, so we don't hit people. Anyways, but so she's scared to tell Dad, but eventually she does. The next day she'll tell him that she hit the car and whatnot. But she tells him because she knows that he will accept her apology and he will forgive her, and he will love her no matter what. God has unconditional love for us. And that's what he's saying, that he is merciful, that we can make mistakes, but we have to learn from them. And this point is further discussed in the next chopai.
Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hoi hai sumana jo mamlochan. बदन पंकज भव मोचन. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. राम सिया राम जय जय राम. निर्भर प्रेम मगन मुनि ज्ञानी. कहीं न जाई सो दशा भवानी. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Here Sutikshna says that this hope, this benevolence of the Lord gives him hope that he shall see the Lord with his eyes and be blessed with receiving him. And the word hope is actually a very important thing, because humanity strives, we thrive on hope. And this is because we live in a state of we are living in the unknown. When we go to sleep at night, we don't know if we're going to wake up the next day. We have no idea what's going to happen the day after or the year. But we have hope for the purpose of making us a good person. And this is what drives us to keep working at it, to be fruitful and to become good people. And the other thing that I said was that he wanted to see the Lord with his eyes. And I like the way that he used eyes, because he's talking about the physical being. And in order to see the Lord, we actually have to recognize him within us before we can actually see him literally and recognize divinity. And one example that I wanted to talk about of being able to recognize divinity is of Ravana. But before I get to there, I wanted to give you a little bit more of an idea of what else that Sutikshna said. He goes on to saying that this Lord delivers us from the bondage of worldly existence. And what he means by worldly existence is that we humans are very attached to materialistic things, to our relationships, to our car, to our home, to our money. And we forget that these things are just things. And when we die, they don't come along with us. So once we realize that our body is simply a vessel for our soul, then we can only recognize divinity. And now I will tell you my story about Ravana. So, as we all might have known or may not know, Ravana was powerful. And I don't know if any of you ever thought, why was he so powerful? But I looked into this, and actually, no, I heard a story. And and actually, it stuck with me. And so Ravana was a great devotee of Bhagwan Shiva. And another name for Shiva is Bholenath. And Bhole means innocent. And this innocent is not in the sense that he's naive of the intent of his devotees. No, he's innocent in the sense that whatever you do pray, or however you do pray, if you do it with a true mind and a true heart, he will truly grant your wish. And that's what Ravana did. He performed tapasya for many years. And as he was doing this, his form of penance, he cut off his head. And each time he cut off his head, it would grow back. And he did this 10 times so that he could, and it would grow back so many times so that his penance could be completed. And as he cut off his head the 10th time, Shiva appeared before him, and he asked him what did he want. And well, Ravan asked for immortality, and Shiva refused to give this to him, but he gave him an elixir, and this elixir was a celestial elixir for immortality. So he drank it, and this elixir was stored in his navel. And then he asked for another boon. And the other boon was that Shiva grant him immunity from all the devtas, the gods, the beasts, any animals, and the rakshasas. But he forgot to ask for immunity from the mortals, because he had so much contempt for them, and he didn't believe that the mortals would be able to defeat him. And as you know, that's why Ram had to take avatar and defeat Ravan, and had to shoot him in the navel. Now, the moral of the story is that Ravan was devout, and he did get what he wished for, but he used his boons for the wrong reasons. He was so attached to power that he could not recognize the divinity within him, and his ego got the better of him. And in order for us to recognize the divinity within us, we have to eradicate the ego, and then only we can recognize the divinity within us and then see him. And many of you, I know there was a question as, well, why would God grant Ravan such power? And I'm telling you this because I don't want to mislead you. And that is just a short glimpse of the Ramayana. But the point is that this was all predestined. That Ravan had to have his ego, he had to ask for these boons in order to show us what would happen if we allow our ego to get the better of us. So do not be misguided, for God is all-knowing and he knows what he's doing. And as we go on to the next chopai.
Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Disi Arvind disi pant nahi socha. Ko mein chale kaha nahi booja. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Kabhu kathiri paache pur jai. Kabhu nritya kahari gun gai. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Siya Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Sutikshna is singing the praises of Prabhu Ram, and as he does this, he loses sense of himself. He doesn't remember who he is. He forgets where he's going, why he might be there. And this type of love that Sutikshna has for Prabhu Ram can be explained through two people in love. So to explain this, I decided to use the example of Radha and Krishna. Radha is the number one devotee of Krishna. Although she does worship Krishna, but she does it in a manner where another human being feels love for another person. So much so is she in love that she also shows this type of reaction that Sutikshna is showing, where she's going crazy, losing control, doesn't know where she is. And I think one song to explain this is Chap Tilak. Please join with me if you remember the verses. It's a love song, so please forgive us for singing in the mandir, but we're just using it to explain something. छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के 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 छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के प्रेमवती का मधवा पिलाए 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 के मतवाली कर ली मेरे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के छाप तिलक सब छीने रे मुँह से नैना मिलाए के You've taken away my looks, my identity, by just one glance. Radha, by just having looked at Krishna, all control is gone whatsoever. Prema bhati ka madhva pilaike. By that one glance of Krishna, she's drank the potion of love. Matvali kariline re muh se naina milaike. By that one glance, you've driven me crazy with intoxication because of this love she has for Krishna. Now, Sutikshna is acting like a mad person because he's running around, having his hands in the air, singing. If someone like us were to watch him, we think, I don't know what's going on with him. This person needs to be admitted to a mental hospital. But when someone is in love, they might be reacting like this. Now, I don't have any first-hand experience with such things like that, but I can relate. What? Okay, but I can relate to being in love with food. Food is my number one. Food is my number one thing. When I hear the sound of the ice cream truck, I might be on the phone with someone, but once I hear that little jingle, I drop everything, run out the window, and go and chase down the ice cream truck. That might be the most energy I ever had in the day because I know I need to get to that ice cream truck. And I forget everything else that's around me because that's my number one thing and I have to go and get it. So Radha, in her love for Krishna, is so much drowned by this devotion to him that she may forget what she's doing. She might put her kajal down here, her bindi is over here, her lipstick is on, like, she looks like Joker after, or maybe she puts her jewelry on the wrong way. So this devotion she has for Krishna is similar to Sutikshna because they both are showing that devotion for God or someone is selfless. Love is not selfish. Whatever you do is for that other person. You might decide to make their special dish. That would be my one thing if anybody decides to. Okay, and win my heart. But yeah, you might do that, or it could be something else. But everything you do is for that one person. Similarly, when you are devoted to God, you do everything in their name. And we will continue to discuss this devotion further. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram Abhiran Premam Bhakti Moni प्रभु देखे तरु ओट लुकाई श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम As Sutikshna is praising Prabhu Ram, Ram actually does come and he goes behind a tree and watches Sutikshna in his crazy state. Now, why might Sutikshna not go right away in front of, why might Prabhu Ram not go right away in front of Sutikshna? Does anybody want to answer that question? Okay, so if you use the example of a mother and her child, so Krishi likes to sing in the bathroom a lot, and when he learns something from Balvihar class, he sings it, and when his mom asks him to sing it after, he doesn't want to do it because he feels shy. So this is the same thing that's happening with Sutikshna. Prabhu Ram knows that if he goes in front of him, he won't react the same way, and he won't be able to enjoy it as much. So here, Sutikshna questioning himself is actually, he's proven wrong, because Prabhu Ram does appear to him, but just not directly in front of him. And so this shows that one does not need to lead an ascetic life or be a Brahmin or be learned in the scriptures to gain the grace of God. Sutikshna is an ordinary man who just is basically in love with the thought of Prabhu Ram, and we should talk about this further.
शरीर पन सफल जैसा श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम दसान जन मन भाए श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम
So much was Sutikshna engrossed in his devotion to Prabhu Ram that his body began to physically change. His skin, he had goosebumps all over his skin because he was so excited that Prabhu Ram was coming. Similarly, if when I'm going to go back to two people in love, when mom and dad.
That's a good example.
Similarly, No, it's actually just years of watching Bollywood movies and analyzing them, and these are my observations. Okay, so similarly, when someone is awaiting their loved one, they might have these physical changes in their body. It might be butterflies in the stomach, or their face starts to glow, or it could be their face starts to glow, or it could be their heart beating fast. There is an array of Bollywood songs that are just devoted to the heartbeat beating incessantly, the dhuk 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 songs, my personal favorites. But Sutikshna is feeling that way for Prabhu Ram. And this, again, this type of devotion of being in love with someone is we will talk about further. Sutikshna, so much was he focused on Prabhu Ram that even when Prabhu Ram actually did come in front of him, he did not break away from his trance. Prabhu Ram shook him, and still he wasn't able to penetrate the state of mind that he was in. Then Prabhu Ram manifested his form in the heart of Sutikshna. And with that, Sutikshna was so content that he continued on with his praises to Prabhu Ram. So, a lot of ladies in our community do this Karva Chauth Vrat, and it's for the longevity of their husbands. Now, I've seen this again in the Bollywood movie, but so the girl decides to keep a fast, and all day she's thinking about, when is he coming? How do I look? Is it
time for the moon to come out yet. And all she keeps thinking about is, when is he coming? And finally, when he does arrive, she doesn't even acknowledge him. He goes and he shakes her, and she's just going on with her state, and she's in like La La Land, and she thinks she's just imagining things. Now, if you use this example for Sutikshna, God is omnipresent. He's here, there, and everywhere. He's in our hearts. And Sutikshna doesn't need the physical form of Prabhu Ram right in front of him to be devoted to him. Similarly, with the girl who's doing this vrat, her husband might be far, far away, but because she's so in love, she has him on his mind all the time, and that's just enough for her. And this is very important because God doesn't need to be in a physical form. Just the fact that you have that human emotion and you can picturize him in your heart is good enough.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Muniya kulai uthat kaise, bikal hin mani parivar jaise, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Aage dekhi Ramo tan Shyama, Aage dekhi Ramo tan Shyama, Sita nuj sahit sukh nama, Sita nuj sahit sukh nama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
As Shivi mentioned, Ram manifested an image in the sage's heart and his mind. And wanting to arouse the sage, Sutikshna, he removed the image. And immediately, Sutikshna became distressed. And here, Goswami Tulsidas uses the analogy of a snake that is distressed by losing its jewel. And this snake well, the story is that this snake has a jewel on its head. And at night, it feeds. So it uses this jewel to see. And without this jewel, the snake cannot feed. And in this sense, the snake will not survive. Sutikshna is using, Ram is his jewel. And that is his purpose, that is his existence. He doesn't need anything else. He's content with Ram in his mind and in his heart. And he further goes on to show how devout he is in this last chopai.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Parun kudai charan hi lagi. Prem magan muni bar pad bhagi. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Bhoj bisar kahi niyamai. Bhoj bisar kahi ni uthai. Param priti rakhi ude lai. Param priti rakhi ude lai. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
In this chopai, it's explaining Sutikshna's reaction to Sri Ram. After seeing him, he immediately dropped like a log at the feet of the Lord. And Goswami Tulsidas uses the log specifically because a log lies flat on the ground. And this is what Sutikshna did. He performed Shastanga Pranam with all four of his limbs and body touching the ground. And what he is showing is that he's saying that I am nothing and I am humbling myself. For I'm bowing down to you, O Lord, who is everything. And Sutikshna is further proving himself wrong because the Lord then extends his arms, his bhuja bishal, his long arms, and embraces him. And shows that he is thus worthy of the Lord's grace. And the moral is that the ordinary man is capable of salvation. And we may not practice jap or tap or yoga, but these forms of devotion may be very complicated for the ordinary man to do. However way that we do worship the Lord or praise Him, as long as it's true in our heart and our mind, then it will be accepted and it will be worthy enough. And in summary, God is benevolent. We mentioned this before, that His benevolence is showed in so many ways. And He knows that we make mistakes. We're only human. We cannot be perfect. And it's through mistakes that we learn. And evidence of this is in a mantra that we all may chant. And I would like to ask you to chant this mantra with me, for I'm also asking forgiveness for any mistakes that I've committed as well.
Mantrahinam kriyahinam bhaktihinam janardana yat pujatam maya deva paripurnam tadastu me, paripurnam tadastu me.
And in this prayer, it's saying that, O Lord Janardana, whatever form of worship, puja, or praise that I have offered unto you, although it may not be the right form of devotion or right pronunciation or the right process, I'm doing it with a true heart. So I'm asking that you forgive all the mistakes that I am doing, and please complete this puja. Please let it be complete. So if you chant this mantra after completing any form of worship or austerity, then the Lord, and you do it with a true heart, then the Lord will accept your wishes. And the last thing that we did talk about was that no matter how much knowledge that you have and how learned you may be, it does not necessarily mean that you have the greatest or the most devotion. And one other story that reiterates this point is, and it has to do with Tulsidas Ji. When Tulsidas was writing this Ramayana, please forgive me because I'm retelling a story. So if I've heard it a long time ago. If I mess it up, please interject, Dad. When he was writing this Ramayana, it was very controversial because it was the first text that was written in Hindi. And he wanted it so that the Aam Aadmi, the ordinary person, could understand it. The Valmiki Ramayana was written in Sanskrit, and only the learned people, the Brahmins and the sages, could read it. So many people did not accept Tulsidas for doing this. So what he decided was that after he completed the Ramayana, the Ramcharitmanas, he decided to put it in one of a mandir and lock it up with other texts that were written in Sanskrit. And the next morning, he would open it up and see if there was a sign that this text was meant to be. So he closed the door, and then he came back the next morning, and lo and behold, the Ramcharitmanas was sitting on top of all the other texts. And it showed that the Lord accepted it. And I'm asking you, what do you think the moral of the story is? This is true. Does anyone else have an answer? The other point that I wanted to make is that the Lord does not discriminate. It doesn't matter what language you speak, whether it's English, Hindi, or Sanskrit, Marathi, Gujarati, whatever it may be. As long as you pray with a true heart and a true mind, then He will surely accept your praise, and He will take you as worthy enough to be with Him. So we'd like to conclude here. Actually, I missed a note. We had a request. Can you please sing Made Him Unmade?
एक फरमाइश है नहीं अच्छा sit down. Let's give our two presenters a wonderful round of applause, please. Before Pandit Sunil will sing their request, listening to the presentation of Ramcharitmanas of the katha of Sutikshna, who is the Shishya of Agastya Muni, listening to these young people present this very, very profound katha, which has such deep meanings and in such simple and humble way, helps us all to become confident that Satya Sanatana Dharma is alive and well. Yesterday we had 5 or 6 young people presented scriptural philosophy, and they did such an excellent job. And I'm sure that we'll all agree today that Nirvana and Shivana did an equally excellent job. Let's give them a big hand. With their melodious voice and their ability to play music and to chant, and their great effort in reading the scriptures and giving their own earth interpretation, not taking the verbatim words written, shows their involvement and their research and effort that they've made. I know personally because I've witnessed it myself. They work tirelessly to prepare for this event. And I hope that whatever effort they've made, that whatever errors they have been made, that God will forgive them. And that all of us will continue to encourage not only them, but all of our young people to continue to do what they're doing, because in so doing, they are taking our dharma to the next dimension. I mentioned yesterday that there was a time when I had a fear that I'd have to be here forever. But now I'm sure that there is lots of replacements for me after yesterday and today. As Tara said yesterday, Panditji, you can leave any time and go away. These kids are here to take over. And I think she means for me to leave. So no, she says, you can leave any time and go. But I have great confidence, like my father had in me, I have in them, and not only in Nirvana and Shivana, all of these young people, they are all of my children, and I have great confidence in all of them that they will ultimately take up the baton and they will do well. I remember, and I mentioned about Indira last night, I have to mention again tonight, is that when I was reading in the early ages, I used to travel to Trinidad quite often. Many people did not know this. I would go there literally once or twice a month to conduct some yagna, and I would fly out on a Friday night and stay on the weekend and fly back in the next week. And once I couldn't fly out at the time to get there in time, and Indira happened to be in Trinidad at the time. So the people says, Panditji, your daughter's here, why didn't she read? And I says, you want my daughter to do the first nights of the yagna in Trinidad, where they don't have any women pandits? They said, yes. And lo and behold, Indira presented Rama and Katha on the first night, the opening of the yagna, by herself. So let's give her a big hand, please. I mean, that was when she was young. Now she's not so young. Okay. So all of our young people have the ability. They just need to be encouraged, given the opportunity, and we will do our best with encouragement. I want to mention Sue was here, Andrew was here last night, Dhanesh was here last night, Neil was here, and they all made presentation. Anil, yes, and Vanisha, they all did excellent jobs. Give them all a big hand, please. And now we'll hear from Pandit Sunil Bhajan.
राम नाम अति मीठा है, कोई गा के देख ले, आ जाते हैं राम कोई बुला के देख ले। मेरे राम 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 मेरे मन में भी राम, मेरे तन में भी राम, मेरे मन में भी राम, मेरे तन में भी राम, रोम रोम में समाया क्या नाम वे, सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे, ओ मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे। मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे राम। जैसे सूरज में राम, वैसे चंदा में श्याम, जैसे सूरज में राम, वैसे चंदा में श्याम, जैसे सूरज में श्याम, जैसे चंदा में राम, जैसे सूरज में श्याम, वैसे चंदा में राम, ओ जैसे सूरज में श्याम, वैसे चंदा में राम, जैसे सूरज में श्याम, वैसे चंदा में राम, अंबर तारों में समाया तेरा नाम वे, मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे, ओ मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे। मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे राम, ओ मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे राम मेरे जैसे भिलने के राम, वैसे कुब्जा के श्याम, जैसे भिलने के राम, जैसे कुब्जा के श्याम, जैसे भिलने के राम, वैसे कुब्जा के श्याम, जैसे भिलने के राम, वैसे कुब्जा के श्याम, नर नारी में समाया तेरा नाम वे, मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे, ओ मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे। मेरे राम 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 सीता के राम वैसे राधा के श्याम, जैसे
सीता के राम वैसे राधा के श्याम,
जैसे सीता के राम वैसे राधा के श्याम, जैसे सीता
के राम वैसे राधा के श्याम,
पत्ते पत्ते में समाया तेरा नाम वे,
मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे, ओ मेरी सांसों में तेरा ही नाम रे,
मेरे राम मेरे राम
मेरे राम मेरे राम,
मेरे राम मेरे राम
मेरे राम मेरे राम,
मेरे राम 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 मेरे राम राम 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 राम, मेरे राम राम
मेरे
मेरे राम
मेरे मेरे बोले श्यापति रामचंद्र भगवान की
जय। तालियां। Once again, we take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here tonight, and we want to thank our sponsors tonight. Our sponsors were the youths of our youth group. Let's give them all a big hand, please. And let me tell you what their sponsorship meant. I actually saw them in the kitchen today. They were cutting, chopping, mopping, cleaning. And they said, oh my God, who's cooking food today? So you're eating at your own risk. No, but they said they have Auntie Rahima giving them guidance. So let's give her a big hand. She did all the cooking too. We want to remind you that we have our journey, as I mentioned when we launched this Yagna, it was launching of our cruise ship. Cruise ship name, Ram. Let me give a good name for it, okay? Let me think of its name. Kaise ko boat?
Now?
Now?
No.
Not a name. Deepa? Huh? INS Ram. INS? Okay. Okay. So, some naval ship Ram, okay? And we launched it. On that day, I mentioned that in a cruise ship, there are many passengers. But it is also important to know that every passenger doesn't pay the same fare. The people in the lower deck pay less money. The people in the middle deck pay more money. Upper deck, more money. And those who have captain cabin pay more money. But although they pay different fares and are on different decks, they're in the same ship. The ship is in the same ocean, so they're all in the same boat in the same ocean, although they pay different price. And wherever that boat stops, everybody is going to that port. They cannot escape, so it's a great analogy of life itself. We all have different price, different ways to operate, but we're all in the same boat of life, in the ocean of devotion, and God is the captain, and we are heading the same journey. As we take this journey from these 21 nights, hopefully we've evolved, we have changed. We've changed tremendously. Our change may not be physically, some of us might have lost a few pounds because of the simple food we're eating and also all of the work we're doing. But more than anything else, we have shed some of our burdens of our stress. We have shed some of our burdens of doubt. We have shed some of our burden of confusion. Our body and our mind must be equally lighter. And in this lightness, in this ocean of devotion, we are cruising. We have one more night and one more port to dock. I invite you to join me. I'll be captain tomorrow night. And I ask everyone to come. And I tell you, we'll give you a captain's cruise tomorrow. And will it be a captain's meal also? Yeah, captain's meal also. Captain's cruise, captain meal. Join me. Bring your friends and relatives, all the children who are home from school. It's a Saturday night. Bring them out. Invite your spouse who doesn't come with you. Invite your in-laws, especially your mother-in-law if you're upset with her, or him, father-in-law.